Hey, good morning. The other day I was just in kind of a foul mood. It wasn't just the morning. Heck, it was like a couple of days that I was just like in a bad mood. No matter what people did around me, everything just seemed to be wrong. They were annoying me. I had expectations. They weren't meeting my expectations. All the stuff was going on. And I kind of had this feeling. I remember my mom used to describe this. She'd say, sometimes you just have a burr on your saddle. And I think she was speaking in general, not just to me, but that was the analogy she used. Now, I've never worn a saddle, so I don't really know what it's like to wear a saddle, nor do I know what it's like to have a burr under my saddle. But I think what she's talking about is this idea that you can have this big old horse, this very strong animal, and something as small as a little burr, which is pretty daggum small, can get under the saddle and create an irritation that just makes the horse very irritable and difficult. And I guess that's where I was. But what I realized as some time went on was I really wasn't unhappy with all the people around me. I was unhappy with myself. And not because I was being difficult. What I had to stop and think about was what was making me unhappy. What was making me unhappy was that I have a business line that's just not doing well. I'm not hitting the metrics I want to, and I'm beating myself up pretty hard for my inability to execute in the way that I want to. So that was what was churning in my mind. It wasn't at the forefront of my mind, though. It was more like in the back of my mind. And it was just kind of gnawing and eating at me, and I was feeling kind of unsuccessful and all these kind of things. And so while that's going on in the back of my mind, the front of my mind, which is, just much more of a literal processing area, was looking around for something to validate how the back of my mind was feeling, right? Because I was carrying that tension in my shoulders and in my body, like everything kind of subconsciously was looking for what that is that's difficult or not making me happy right now. And so when people cross my path or not just random people, but the people that I was spending time with during the day, like if they would say something or do something, I was just very quick to be critical and to point out, the shortcomings of what they're doing. It's like that front of my mind was saying, okay, here's evidence of why you're not happy. Okay, it's their fault. It's because they're not doing what they should do, or whatever the case may be. When the reality is it had little to nothing to do with them. Because if you're looking to find fault in people in your life, you'll always be able to find it. So what I came to terms with and finally realized was that, it wasn't about them. It was about me. It was that, as I said, I've got several different businesses and different things going on, and I have one that really ought to be performing well. It's just kind of not hitting the marks, and there's nobody to blame but me. And so I was blaming myself about that, feeling bad about that one. And that's what was driving it. But once I realized that the truth was that it was about me and not about them, then all of a sudden they didn't bother me anymore. What the other people were doing or not doing just wasn't an issue. They were fine. They were doing the exact same thing, being the exact same way, but it didn't bother me. So I guess getting back to the burr under the saddle, I think there's a lot of truth in the statement that if you're not happy with yourself, you can't be happy with anybody else. And so if you find yourself frustrated, annoyed with kind of everybody that crosses your path, with work, with family, with all that, if you're just constantly annoyed and frustrated, feel like you're all the time blaming people for not making you happy, and happiness is a whole nother conversation, but we'll use that as a general term. But if you're blaming them, maybe it's time to stop and think about what may be going on deeper, in your head, in the back of your head, on a level that, maybe you're not really fully processing. Are you unhappy with yourself? Are you not living up to your standards or your expectations? Have you let yourself down in some way? What is it that's eating at you, that's keeping you from being happy with yourself, that your conscious mind is looking for external reasons to validate? And if you can find that, within yourself, what you'll discover as soon as you recognize that and own that is that your external relationships are very, very likely to improve extremely quickly. So if that's where you are, if you got a burr under your saddle and you just can't quite figure it out, stop, take a little bit of time, think through what's going on in your life, and if there's any particular reason that you can find that, maybe you're just not happy with people, and see if maybe it's just you. So hope this helps. If you want to jump into a Facebook group and go any deeper than this, just send me a direct message. We're getting those things cranked up here in the next little bit. We'd love to be able to help you kind of sort through things going on in your life. A lot of people struggle with work-life balance. But my belief is if you don't like your life, you don't like your work, why balance them? So let's get both of those things cranked up onto a level that you feel good about, you feel excited about, you feel like you're winning in life, and then let's figure out how to balance them.